Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon Se, Samvad Saroकार News, Bharat Post News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. But before I will go on my today's topic, I would like to inform you that today world is observing World Cancer Day. World Cancer Day is an international day marked on February 4th to raise awareness of cancer and to encourage its prevention, detection, and treatment. World Cancer Day is led by the Union for International Cancer Control, UICC, to support the goals of the World Cancer Declaration written in 2008. The primary goal of World Cancer Day is to significantly reduce illness and death caused by cancer and is an opportunity to rally the international community to end the injustice of preventable suffering from cancer. The day is observed by the United Nations. World Cancer Day targets misinformation, raises awareness, and reduces stigma. Multiple initiatives are run on World Cancer Day to show support for those affected by cancer. Media conference with Lal Goel extend its full support for this cause. And now coming to the main topic, and as under the Gyan Ki Pathshala, the topic is Youth Conclave on reading for management as career. Management is a people job. The manager coordinates the work of other people to ensure that the unit is run efficiently and profitably. A manager may have direct responsibility for a group of people in one department or a team of people from several different departments. Managers with the appropriate experience and credentials are some of the world's highest paid professionals. The three basic management levels include top level manager, middle manager, and lower manager. People seeking a management careers need skills such as leadership, communication, motivational, and interpersonal. Now to discuss and to ask questions on this very, very important topic, that is Youth Conclave on readying for management as career, we have a youth guest with us, as well as we have our chief guest. And I would like to invite and introduce my chief guest, and he is Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak is reputed international corporate trainer, public speaker, blogger, and columnist. He is the former professor and head of management studies, IIT Dhanbad. He is postgraduate in psychology and an MBA with PhD in stress management from Banaras Hindu University. He is a reputed management and psychological consultant and is the founder of Kaizen Mantra, a training and consulting organization. He has also founded the Goodness Movement that aims to spread positivity through writings and lectures. His columns are published in leading newspapers and periodicals, and his blogs are read globally. He was also on faculty, Institute of Management, BHU. Having guided some 30 PhDs successfully, he has written several books and over 100 research articles in reputed journals. As a global lecturer, he has delivered talks at various international seminars, conferences, and workshops in several countries. I would like to invite Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, as today's topic is Youth Conclave on reading for management as career, we would like to know first your views, and then our youth guest, those who are joining Pan India from different universities and colleges, they are going to ask questions which you are going to reply, so that they will understand how one should be reading for management as a career. So Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, and welcome to all your participants, and my best wishes to them for a very successful career in management. And of course, I greet all your viewers also from different channels who have joined this program. To begin with, the subject that we are going to deliberate on today is readying for management as a career. Now, what is the latest position that these days, wherever we hear this word management, several things come to our mind. First is that it is a very lucrative career, air conditioned office, air travels, changing people behavior, corporate positions, and of course, hefty packages in terms of salary and perquisites. But on the other side, there is another argument that most of the students who pursue management as a career are unemployable. Now, what is the basis of this conclusion is difficult to find out, but that is the general refrain. That is what we read in the newspaper. That is what, in fact, many so-called management consultants talk about. That is the what we call assertion, which many of these management associations make. So the one word they use is employability. Now, what are the issues involved in employability? That is one very basic issue, which has to be focused on for all the students who want to make management as a career. So now the first question that comes to my mind is that what makes a good manager? That's a basic question, because unless we know that, how do we prepare ourselves for management as a career? So now this question, is rather an old one. Ever since the first management degree was given sometime around 125 years back in the US and some European universities, we have been trying to look for an answer to this question. What makes a good manager? Of course, in the classrooms, in the textbooks, in the speeches of management gurus and management consultants, we find a number of qualities that go into making of a manager. But despite knowing those qualities, and despite having been teaching management for the last over, say, 125 years, we still find that there are certain organizations that fail. There are certain organizations that don't come to the desired level, and there are certain managers who don't succeed in management as a career. Now, it was some 500 years ago that the British statesman, Sir Thomas More, he was a British statesman and thinker, he raised a question: why enterprises fail? 500 years ago. And then he gave a probable answer also, that maybe they fail because of poor management. But for the last more than 500 years, we still don't know what is poor management or what contributes to poor management. So that is the basic issue. Now, for those who want to join management as a career, I will tell one thing to them, that management is all about your wisdom, your decision-making ability, and the judgment you make based on different information that you have or the knowledge that you acquire. So now, three things: wisdom, decision, judgment. Now, the problem is that all these three are abilities that depend not only on the curriculum of a management program, or they not only depend on the teachers who teach students, or they not only depend on the type of institute they go to join. These are attributes of the individual in which the institutes or the teachers or the literature that is available, they contribute by providing opportunities for developing themselves. But whether they will develop or not will depend on the student, the individual. So that is the basic issue. That on the one hand, we have, in fact, I'll raise a very hypothetical issue, that let's assume that if all the organizations and institutions world over had been managed more effectively, the leaders were more committed to the cause, and the people were more sincere, would not the world have been a better place? We'll come to this question later on in the course of discussion. But that's a hypothetical issue that I want to raise, that if the organizations and institutions world over had been managed more effectively, the leaders were more committed to the cause, and the people were more sincere, the world would have been a better place. We saw in the past 2 years of the pandemic this issue glaringly evident. Now, see, what is interesting is, I'm talking about just one institution. There are several institutions. What is interesting is that the World Health Organization, that came into existence some 7 decades ago, and they were spending annually in the recent past $4 billion every year on research and other knowledge creation for a better and healthy world. In spite of that, we seemed to be clueless as to what this pandemic has in store for us and what is the right treatment that we are going to provide. And so look at the irony. We came to one basic conclusion, that whatever we used to do 100 years ago, when that Spanish flu had struck this world, 1918, masking and social distancing and hand sanitization, only those are valid ways of containing the what we call pandemic. So this is the irony. That means, what is the progress in these 100 years? So this is just one issue. One thing has to be very clearly understood, that management is not only about corporate enterprises. It's not only about commercial organizations. It's about all sectors and segments of the society which have to be managed better. That is what was the basic question that was inherent to the issue that was raised by that British statesman, Sir Thomas More. Why enterprises fail? A hospital also is an enterprise. An institution also is an enterprise. A corporate organization is also an enterprise. And of course, a government also is an enterprise. So that is what is important. A research organization is also an enterprise. Why enterprises fail? And then he just gave a blanket statement, because of poor management. But from those 500 years ago to the present times, we are still groping as to what is exactly poor management. That is one part. But secondly, what I want to emphasize is that despite not being able to answer this question, we still have to find some ways to come to a conclusion that what management should teach, what curriculum should focus on, and what students or practitioners of management learn. So these are the issues which we try to thrash in a management classroom. And there's a very interesting thing that we emphasize on case studies. And despite so many of case studies, the conclusion is that the next case again is as ambiguous as the earlier ones, despite learning the case study. So there are many issues, hundreds of issues, and I think we'll come to those issues as the students raise these questions. But now, coming to readying for management as a career, I would like to emphasize that an effective manager, we don't talk about good manager or bad manager. We talk about effective and ineffective managers. Effective managers are those who give results, whatever results they are required to give, and ineffective managers fail in delivering the results. So now coming to the qualities that effective managers need to possess. That, of course, I mean, it's a basket of skills, but we'll boil it down to three basic things. First is, as managers, as I said, decision, judgment, wisdom. So first thing is, you need a fair bit of intellectual ability, or what we call IQ in psychology. IQ, intelligence quotient. Now, of course, I did not use this word because IQ itself is an ambiguous issue these days. So intellectual ability, or what we call general mental ability, that is something over here. Number one, IQ. Second, that is not enough, because the basic definition of management is working with and through people. So only having the mental ability may not be enough. So we need some emotional ability, the ability to understand people, the ability to get along with people, the ability to make them do what the organization wants them to do. So emotional ability, or emotional quotient, or emotional intelligence. But even that is not enough. These days, that is the reason why we are emphasizing more on ethics and values in the management classrooms. So the third attribute or quality or requirement. Now, all these are not individual qualities. They are a basket of skills. So the third one is morality quotient. The ability to take decisions which are not only prudent, but which are also ethically correct. So these three are the basic issues. And for rating as a management career, the students need to develop on all these three attributes. How we'll be coming to those things in the course of discussion. And there are two more things now, which I would like them to understand. One is, all these things can only be translated into results if you have one master skill: communication. Because all your knowledge will be worthless if you cannot communicate or if you communicate wrongly. So communication skills. And that is why, most of those surveys and researches carried out by different organizations, they focus on effective communication skills. It's not enough. That is true. Some people have very good communication skills, but then the ethical part is missing. So communication skills is only important because it helps you disseminate whatever you want to tell others, whatever you want to deliver. So one is that communication skills. And second is leadership skills, the ability that will help you influence people. Because there are many things managers do. But if it comes to one basic job which a manager is supposed to do, it is influencing behavior. And for influencing behavior, you need that leadership ability. So these are the things that they need to emphasize. And the most, what we call intriguing aspect is that these things can only be learned or developed in the classrooms. I have been teaching management for the last more than 35 years. But I find that still in a classroom of, say, 40 or 50, there are some who acquire these skills. There are some who could not. So now that issue is there. So that is, the individual is a very important subject in this whole scene. So these are the, what we call basics that the students must understand. And the final, what we call take for the student is that it is your, what we call application, that will keep you in good stead. The classrooms, the courses, the institutes, the training will only tell you what has to be done. But when it comes to doing it, it is your application of the skills, the knowledge, the ideas that you have acquired. So I think with these few words, I have just set the ball rolling for the students to raise issues.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak, for giving the fair idea about the managers, good managers, bad managers, or those who are worthwhile for the corporations or the institutions. And you also mentioned about the how the good or the managers has to be reading for the management as career. Now, as per our format, now we will be asking the students, and they will be asking a question to you. So first, my first youth guest, first you have to introduce yourself, your name, your class and institution and the city, and then ask the question. First, my first youth guest is Miss Alia Sefi.
Good morning. Good morning, myself, Alia Sefi.
Yeah, please go
Myself,
ahead.
Alia Sefi. I'm
Alia, carry on. You are not supposed to say good morning. See, that is one mistake you did.
Please go ahead. Go ahead.
Carry on.
Myself, Alia Sefi. I'm currently pursuing my MBA from HIMCS Agra. And my question is, as we have so many theories given by F.W. Taylor and Henry Fayol, are those theories still valid, or we have like this is a very competitive scenario, so we have to have a competitive edge. So what do you think? What management skills a person need to inculcate in this scenario?
See, all those theories are valid. That you must bear in mind, because all those theories have been propounded after carrying out some research. Some valid foundation is there. The only thing is how you apply that. Because see, the wisdom lies not in knowing the theory, but it lies in applying those theories. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. If you understand science, in the schools, you must have studied science. So there is what we call Avogadro's hypothesis, which says that the volume of a given mass of gas is 22.4 liters at NTP. Isn't that so? Have you heard of this? Avogadro's hypothesis, chemistry?
No, no,
No, acha. Anyway, I'll come to a very basic issue now. You must have read that story about the wise crow in Aesop's fables. There was a thirsty crow. It was a summer afternoon, and it was looking for some.
Yes,
What?
sir.
Tell me. You interact.
Pebbles to put
Oh,
in.
no, it was looking for water.
Sorry, you said it was looking for water.
Water, right. So in the search of water, it found a pitcher. And in the pitcher, he could see some water. So he thought, applied his mind, and started putting pebbles in that pitcher. And of course, I don't know whether he knew Archimedes' principle or not, but he applied Archimedes' principle. And the water level came up, and he drank the water and flew away. Now comes the basic issue. This is the theory. This is what we teach. But there are other aspects which are very important. How much water was there in the pitcher? Because if there is very little water, if you start putting pebbles in it, only pebbles will come up. You get my point? So that is what you have to understand, that theory has to be applied in a given situation. Don't blindly apply that theory. Right?
Okay.
Satisfied?
Thank you very much, Professor Pathak. Thank you very much, Miss Alia. Now, my next youth guest is Miss Aditi Garg.
So, myself, Aditi Garg, I am pursuing MBA from Kite Group of Institutions, and my question is:
City, please.
what are the key?
Miss Aditi, which city is your institution?
Delhi NCR.
Okay. Yeah.
Delhi NCR.
Question, please.
My question is: what are the key attributes required to be a good leader?
That I already told you. IQ, EQ, MQ. Some mental ability, some emotional ability, and some moral ability. You should be an intelligent person. You should be an emotionally mature person. And you should be an ethical person. There's no substitute for that.
Thank you, Professor Pathak, and thank you, Ms. Aditi. Now, my next youth guest is Mr. Aksh Agrawal.
Sir, my name is Akshay Agarwal. I am pursuing MBA from HIMCS, Hindustan Institute of Management and Computer Studies, Agra. So my question is what are the challenges faces by the manager to become a good manager in a management, and how to motivate the other employees?
See, the biggest challenge these days is that you have access to, I mean, what we call tremendous amount of information. And the difficulty is that in that information, there are many information that contradict the other information. So it is some kind of an information load which you are bombarded with. And in the era of information overload, picking up the right information to convert that into knowledge, that is the art. That is why it is said that management is both a science and an art. Why? Because it's a practice. So science, of course, you can be taught in the classrooms. You can read from the books. You can hear from lectures of your professors and so-called management gurus. But the art has to be developed yourself. So you have to apply your knowledge according to the situation. That is why I always emphasize these three things: IQ, EQ, MQ. And in the English dictionary, you will not find one word to accommodate all three. In the Hindi, of course, in the philosophical thought, there is a word called Vivek. You must have heard of it. Have you heard of it?
Yes, sir.
Vivek. So it's the application of Vivek that will help you become a good manager, because every situation is different from the other situation.
Thank you, Professor Pathak. Thank you, Mr. Akshay Agarwal. Now, my next youth guest is Miss Amrita Chaudhary.
My name is Amrita Chaudhary. I am pursuing MBA from Hindustan Institute of Management and Computer Studies. My question is, sir, this like why there is a thinking in the mind of the student that management and like MBA is a very easy kind of thing and becoming a manager is easy. Like people who are pursuing
Amrita,
BTech,
you'll have to repeat your question. I could not hear that.
Speak. Bring your. Are you using a mic with you? Or
no, sir.
so speak loudly, please.
So my question is that like why people are having such kind of thinking that like management studies or MBA, these are like very easy kind of things. People used to get so many benefits in these. Like people are also suffering and in this studies also. Like people who are pursuing BTech and all such kind of technical courses, they are having some different kind of mentality for the management courses.
No. You first clear your doubt about this. See, why they are pursuing management is not because it is easy, but because it is a ticket to a lucrative career. Why do you think people from IITs pursue management? IITs are supposed to be, I'm not giving any assertion or conclusion. They are supposed to be the most intelligent engineers. But why do they go for a management course? Why do they join IIMs? Because it is a ticket to a lucrative career, number one. And number two, in the technical courses, you are taught more about the technical aspects. You are imparted more on the technology and the scientific parts. But when it comes to dealing with human beings, management is that course that helps you mold your personality to be a good, effective, and understanding human being. Because that is one skill that will always be required. See, whether you are an engineer or a doctor or an accountant, you are a manager first. So for being a manager, you should have the ability to work with and through others. So that is why it's not about easy or difficult. And working with people is very difficult. So it cannot be said an easy course, no?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Pathak, and thank you, Miss Amrita Chaudhary. Now, my next youth guest is Miss Anjali Maurya. Please unmute.
So my name is Anjali More. Currently, I pursue MBA first year from HIMCS Kharai Matra. So my question is that what do you think are your best career management skills?
I could not get it. What do you want to ask?
Please repeat your question again.
So what do you think are your best management career?
Best management means, what do you want to ask? Marketing, finance, HR, something like this, or what?
Sir, HR.
It means you mean to say कि which one is better, management career, whether HR or marketing or management? Which is the best career according? Correct, Anjali? You want to ask this question?
Yes, sir.
Professor Pathak? I think we lost connection with Professor Pathak. Professor Pathak's network is down, seems to be. Professor Pathak, can you hear us?
Really?
Yes, now you are there. Yes, Professor Pathak, we lost you.
So,
Yeah.
right. So, actually, this is one question that keeps on arising in the minds of management students. Which is the best specialization or which is the best discipline to follow? My submission, my answer to this is very simple. That every specialization is equally effective, equally saleable, equally good. The only thing is that you have to develop yourself in that specialization, in that field, and you have to acquire the skills, develop the skills required for that profession. So in finance, you require some kind of skill. In marketing, you require some other kind of skill. In HR, you require some other kind of skill. In operations, you require some other kinds of skill. So it's not about that particular field or discipline. It's about your capabilities relevant to that field or discipline that you have to do.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Pathak, and thank you, Miss Anjali. Now my next youth guest is Mr. Ayush Aryan. Mr. Ayush, are you there? No, I think he has left. He joined earlier. Okay, my next youth guest is Mr. GVR Karthikeyan.
Namaste, I am Karthikeya. I am from SRM University, Guntur. I'm a research scholar. My question to Dr. Pathak is, how do you differentiate between a successful manager and an effective manager?
Very simple. In fact, in the theories also it has been given that a successful manager is one who can achieve results, but means are not specified. Like many politicians are successful, but an effective manager is one who achieves success through the right means. That is very important, because it's a question not only about ends, it's about the right means also. You cannot achieve success by applying unscrupulous means. That is not successful.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Pathak, and thank you, Mr. Karthikeyan. Now, next, my youth guest is Miss Khushi Rani.
I am Khushi Rani. Currently, I am pursuing BMS from Gopal Narayan Singh University, Bihar. My question is how we change the mindset of people that management is not only marketing specialization. Mostly people think in management only marketing term is used and only marketing specialization people are followed.
No, Khushi, I told you very clearly that management is not only about commercial enterprises or selling or talking or things like that. Management is management. Management is about managing an enterprise effectively. And when it comes to managing an enterprise effectively, marketing is important, operations are important, HR is important, finance is important. So now this misconception is there in the students. It's not about the general perception. General perception is that management is about effectiveness of the organization. So it's not about marketing. And what happens is that it's the misconception that is there in the student's mind. He thinks that marketing is the best career. Of course, there are more jobs and there will always be more jobs in sales, because that is how you start a career into marketing, sales job. So, of course, there are more opportunities in sales, and that is why students rush to sales and then marketing. But the fact is that management is about so many things. An NGO also requires to be managed. A hospital also requires to be managed. A political organization also requires to be managed. So it's not only about marketing. And you have to be very clear in your mind that marketing is not management. Okay?
Thank you very much, Professor Pathak, and thank you very much, Ms. Khushi Rani. Now my next youth guest is Mr. Kushagra Sharma.
My name is Kushagra Sharma. I am pursuing MBA from Hindustan Institute of Management, Farai Mathura, and I am from Agra. Sir, as we totally different from that of I am students. So, sir, what can be a major change can we bring in ourselves to just come up on that level, on that IIM students level?
See, I'll tell you one very interesting analogy. Have you heard of Satya Nadella? Have you heard his name? Kushagra?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
His network is weak. You please go ahead, Professor Pathak.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, one very celebrated name, they got, of course, Padma Awards recently, is Satya Nadella. And another very celebrated name is Sundar Pichai.
Yes, sir. CEO
Right?
of Google.
Right. Now, the interesting thing is that they are both equally celebrated names in the global scale. But one of them is from the IIT, the other is from Manipal Institute. So it's not about institute, it's how you develop yourself that is important. You get my point? So you have to, of course, see, brand has a value, but it's not always that the brand is the only requirement. Your own efforts are very important. Your own qualities are there. You have to develop them. So you have to, of course, compared to an IIM student, you will have to make much more efforts because the market is like that. The perception of the market is like that, that someone from IIM has to be better. But it's not necessary that you cannot compete with him. You can always compete with him.
Okay, thank you, Professor Pathak, and thank you, Mr. Kushagra Sharma. Now my next youth guest is Miss Sakshi Goel.
Thank you very much, sir, for inviting me. And I'm Sakshi Goel from Kite Group of Institution, Delhi, NCR. So my question is that being a manager, how do we talk about career growth if teammate doesn't have a clear vision where they want to go?
Can you repeat your question?
So my question is that being a manager, how do we talk about career growth if teammate doesn't have a clear vision for where they want to get or where they want to go? How do we talk about?
See, even the best of the objectives and ideas have to be sold. So as a manager, it is your responsibility to sell that idea, that where do you want to go? You have to show them the objectivity, make them focused on that, and lead them to that objective. So you have to do some kind of a marketing of your objectives. That is very important. You have to market your ideas. Ideas also have to be marketed.
So according to you, Professor Pathak, the idea is not to be marketing outside, but inside with your team also.
Also, yes, that is leadership.
Then only you will be a successful manager.
That is leadership.
Yeah, that is leadership. Okay.
We recently saw what happened in the case of that Kisan Andolan. The government could not sell that idea.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Pathak, and thank you very much, Miss Sakshi Goel. Now my next youth guest is Miss Sakshi Singhal. Miss Sakshi Singhal, please unmute yourself.
Yes.
Please ask.
Sir, my name is Sakshi Singhal. I am currently pursuing MBA from Hindustan Institute of Management and Computer Study, Farai Mathura. Sir, my question is, what are the skills we have required to become a good manager?
And I think I have been telling you right from the very beginning. You have to develop your mental ability, you have to develop your emotional ability, you have to develop your ethical ability, you have to also develop your communication skills and leadership skills. Now, I think instead of asking that question, you could have asked me how you are going to develop that. So that, I think, will need some more elaboration. So I think maybe at the end of the discussion, we can come.
No, why not, Professor Pathak? You just tell right now that how this ability, our students can get today so they
See,
can become a successful manager?
Actually, I would have done that, but what I thought was that it will deprive many of their questions. Anyway, so I come to that. So see, as I said, mental ability, number one. To develop mental ability, you not only need to focus on the curriculum. The problem with the students is that they are more focused on curriculum and they don't do extra reading. But as students of management, you need to do some extra reading. And that extra reading is not only about newspapers or the business page. No, you need to read classics also. You need to read those, basic storybooks also. In fact, stories and parables are very powerful sources of very effective knowledge. So, reading, focus on reading. In fact, these days, reading is one what attribute that is becoming extinct, and people are more keen on the social media and the internet and things like that. But that apart, you need to focus on reading extra. So, reading your course and then reading extra. Number one, that will help you develop your mental ability. It will give you greater insights because as managers, you need to develop insights. So, it will give you greater insights into different situations. Number one. Number two, coming to emotional ability. There, of course, you'll have to develop that knack of listening to your heart. You have to develop that power of observation. You have to develop that coordination between head and heart. Oftentimes, we operate mathematically 2 and 2, 4. But the fact is that in management, 2 and 2 make 5. That is synergy. And of course, like technical students, we focus on contribution. But the problem with contribution is that some parts apparently look like contributing more, but the significance of their contribution cannot be judged by that. I'll give you an example. Suppose you are having a very, what we call, lavish party. And in that party, you have asked your cook to prepare a very tasty curry. So in that curry, the cheapest ingredient would be salt. So when it comes to mathematically computing the contribution, you will be tempted to say that salt has no contribution. If the entire curry costs, say, 200 rupees, salt will be hardly worth, 1 rupee. But if you remove that salt, the taste of that curry is killed. So that temptation to identify contribution, that is different. That's why I said that 2 and 2 make 5. So you should develop that ability to coordinate the head and the heart. That is emotional quotient, listening and observing. That ability has to be developed, and it can be developed. In fact, in the previous days, in the earlier times, most of our researches were observation based, and they were equally valid. Not that they were not valid. So that is EQ. And coming to ethical question, morality quotient, that is very easy. Only thing is that you have to judge whether whatever you are doing is right or wrong, whether it is tenable with what we have been taught in the schools, whether it is not trying to cheat somebody, whether it is not trying to feign a position, whether it is not trying to tell lies and things like that. That is ethical ability. So you have to restrain your mind because it's the mind that makes you deviate, and ego. And coming to communication skills, it is always said that communications can be better than the best. That means you need to develop communication skills. And two things are needed. One, you must have something to say. That means you develop the information, the knowledge base. And second, you must know how to say that something. That for that, you'll have to, do some extra efforts. You have to listen to effective communicators and how they talk. And one more thing you have to remember, that don't try to imitate somebody. Rather than being a second-rate version of somebody, be a first-rate version of yourself. Because the point that I want to emphasize is that communications are always better than the best. So it's not necessary that you try to copy one. You develop your own style. The only thing is, as I said, you must be able to transmit the message. So that is communication. And finally, leadership skills. You must listen. You develop that ability to listen. The problem these days is that no one is listening. Students are also not listening. Teachers are also not listening. Parents are, nobody is listening. So develop that ability to listen. This will help you.
Thank you very much, Professor Pathak, to enlightening all of us, rather, apart from those who are participating, the others, viewers who are watching, also that what are the skills required to be a successful manager. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Ms. Sakshi Singhal. Now, my next youth guest is Mr. Sanjay Kumar. Mr. Sanjay Kumar, first you do one thing, unmute yourself, turn your mobile in a horizontal position because you joined late. So I could not tell you, and stabilize your mobile. Okay.
Really
And
sorry,
now
sir.
you introduce yourself and ask the question, please.
Okay, sir. I'm Sanjay Kumar. I'm from Hazaribagh, Jharkhand, and I'm pursuing MBA Marketing from Vinoba Bhave University. And sir, since we have met already before, we got this opportunity to have you in our session also. We got to learn a lot from you. My question over this session is, sir, since we have studying multiple theories which was not there in our past, like multiple leaders, as time passed, they kept on coming with new theories like interchangeability of parts, yes, stopwatch theories, assembly line methods. So these are the theories that they come with according to the problem they faced. So as we got to know that management is something which teaches us, allows us to study something over the base of problem that we face in the present. So, sir, since you said that case study is a part which enables us to know more about the theories which has been developed in the past, but don't you think, sir, that the problems we'll be having in our time, so that capability of finding a solution of those problems, having that mental level is more important rather than studying those theories?
See, one thing you must have very clearly settled in your mind, that nothing is as practical as a good theory. The problem is not with the theory. The problem is with the application of the theory. If you are a student of science, I have a wonderful analogy for you. You must have studied how, hydrogen is produced in lab. Have you heard of it? Chemistry lab.
I don't really remember, sir.
Then that is one weakness of your part. You must remember what you have learned. Anyway, I'll tell you. It is said that hydrogen can be manufactured if you put sulfuric acid on zinc. Right? That's the formula. Okay. Formula. But is it always true? It will depend on the quality of zinc. It will depend on the concentration of the sulfuric acid. So the theory says zinc and sulfuric acid. But the theory doesn't say what concentration and what quality. That you have to determine. So nothing is as practical as a good theory unless you learn how to apply that theory to a given situation. So don't blame the theories. If you are not able to get results from a theory, there's something wrong with your application.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Pathak, and thank you very much, Mr. Sanjay Kumar. Now, my next youth guest is Ms. Shreya Jain. Ms. Shreya Jain.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Shreya Jain. I am pursuing MBA from HIMCS, Mathura. My question is, how would you describe your leadership style?
Again, you have raised the same fundamental question. Is there one best leadership style? No. Leadership style, again, depends on the situation in which you have to exercise your leadership skills. So at times, you have to use authoritarian style. At times, you have to use democratic style. At times, you have to leave it. So it's not only about one best style. It's about the style that suits a situation. But one thing you have to bear in mind, that your leadership style will always depend on two other things. One, situation, and the other, type of followers. So for one set of situation and one kind of followers, you'll need one style. For another, you'll need other. So that judgment has to come from your wisdom. That judgment cannot be given in the theory. That you have to decide.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Patak. And thank you, Ms. Shreya Jain. Now, my last but not the least youth guest is Ms. Shromana Saha.
Hello, I am Shramana Shaha from Kolkata. I'm currently working as a talent acquisition specialist in Inceptual Infrastructure and Technology. It's an IT product and service-based organization. So, sir, my question is like we know in the past trends, like the companies used to prefer the candidates, those who have done full-time management course rather than the part-time management course. But in the current scenario of due to this pandemic, the students are pursuing their classes from online. It's not like a classroom environment they are getting or not getting the full-time opportunities which they used to have. So isn't it affecting the career of those candidates who are now studying in the management?
There can be two answers. Coming to the basic thing that you asked, that online classes will affect the quality of
Yes, sir.
learning or not.
Right.
It certainly will affect. In a general sense, it certainly will affect, because that physical interaction, it has no substitute, no matter how strongly the advocates of online education try to emphasize. It will always affect. Because see, it's not only about one teacher imparting that knowledge to one student or a group of students. In the classroom, peer learning also takes place. So that interactive environment is more important. So that, of course, answers your basic issue. But coming to quality, it will again vary from individual to individual. So as a talent acquisition person, you should not take it for granted that people who have come through this online mode of education are invariably worse or better than the others. No, that you have to decide case to case basis. Why I'm telling you this is that individual efforts, self-learning is also there. Na? So you must have heard of Mahabharata. So there are two models of learning. One is the Dronacharya imparted training to Arjun, and the other is the learning by Eklavya, who built a statue of Dronacharya and learnt archery himself, and he was in no way inferior to Arjun. So self-learning, or what we call Swadhyaya, is equally important. So it's not necessary. It will vary from individual to individual. That is there.
Thank you very much, Professor Pathak, and thank you very much, Ms. Shah. Now, as the first round is over, now the second round, I will start from the reverse, alphabetically from the reverse side. So I will give the chance to Ms. Suromana Shah again to ask the question. Now, no need of introduction, ask the question.
Sure, sir. So like, sir, in the month of this February, like the budget has been released by the government. So there we have seen like government is investing on the education part, whether it is for the agriculture or for the technology based, and there are lots of prospects we have seen. But in the management, the government has not precisely mentioned anything of any contribution or any university setup. So isn't it like a government is also thinking like the management career is getting diluted in India?
No. See, government has set up a budget for education. So management also is a part of education. So that, of course, will be decided by the different institutions and universities. Government will not come and decide this much money to be given to management institutes and this much money. That is something else. No, it's not that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Pathak. Thank you very much, Ms. Shah. Now, Ms. Shreya Jain.
What qualities are lacking among today's leaders?
Shreya, will you repeat?
What qualities are lacking among the leaders, today's leaders? Correct, Ms. Shreya?
Yes, sir.
All three qualities: IQ, EQ, MQ.
Okay, sir.
If you want, I can elaborate.
No, I think you have already said so. It is clear that all the three qualities are. You mean to say the leaders, political leaders, or the managers are lacking, Ms. Shreya?
Managers.
Managers.
it applies them all to them also.
Okay.
Because these days, the access to knowledge and access to information has created most of the problems.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Then next is Sakshi Singhal.
Sir, my next question was how we handle the conflicts between the members in the organization.
Your next question is, right?
Yes.
Not
sir.
was. First. So how you handle conflict amongst members. Isn't
Yes.
that so?
Yes,
So you are
sir.
talking about what we call intra-group conflict. Now, as a manager or a leader, the first thing that you have to do is to listen to each one of them and listen to them attentively and then come to a conclusion. Don't pass judgments without listening. The most difficult thing is that leaders these days carry judgments on the basis of their own assumptions rather than going to assess the ground realities.
Sanjay Kumar.
Yes, so my question is like we are now living in a society where we are witnessing this kind of change of entrepreneurship. We are in the era of getting via things like entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, passionpreneurship. So since we are witnessing this and the kind of environment we are living in, like I'm from Jharkhand, and this is a state where we live in an environment of get the first kind of a environment, get the first job kind of an environment we have. So how do you motivate us? What kind of traits should we have to neglect all this mentality and go forward for this entrepreneurship and think for new innovations?
See, actually, what you have raised is a very pertinent issue. It's a cultural issue that in states like Jharkhand, Bihar, I mean, most of the eastern states, people are, brought up that way that you study and find a job. But my submission, my suggestion is that you assess yourself. See, one thing is very clear that many people these days jump to entrepreneurship. That also is not there. Do some worthwhile study, properly research, and carry out a survey of the market and then go for entrepreneurship. And one more thing, be ready to fail. Your first venture, your second venture, your third venture may not necessarily lead you to success. So if you have the ability, desirability, and the background to face these failures, you can go ahead and you will succeed.
Sakshi Goel.
So my question is that if the company doesn't have growth, traditional growth opportunities, then being a manager, what strategy, what should I adopt to motivate my team? Because there are lot many questions revolving around the team member, like how should we grow and how should we achieve the goal. So like that, what strategy I should adopt to motivate them?
Career growth and achievement of goals are two different things. So that you have to clarify first.
Sir, about their goal as well, and how, like I'm saying that if there are no traditional growth opportunities in the company, so
What do you
how do
mean by
we,
that? What do you mean by that? Traditional growth opportunities.
like the
Promotion.
member, yeah, promotion, or like member have the goal, some goal now that we have to achieve that by working in a company. So what,
Personal goals.
yeah, personal goals.
So for personal goals, the performance has to be emphasized. You cannot achieve your personal goal without emphasizing on your performance. So, and if you can emphasize on your personal, what we call efforts, you will certainly achieve the goals. Maybe it's a question of time because every company, every organization doesn't have as many opportunities as others. So that delay may be there. And if that be so, the other option you have, change the company.
Yes, sir, but if someone is thinking that we should learn this thing, yeah, they were expecting something from our company, and suddenly, yeah, for we don't have such opportunities or such things which they
No,
have in their
there's a
mind.
question. You have to assess the situation. Why you are not getting that opportunity? Is that company's fault or is that your fault? That has to be found out. I mean, you cannot just jump to conclusions.
Okay. Next, Mr. Kushagra Sharma.
Yes, sir. Sir, as we all talk about leadership and leaders, so, sir, in India, we see there is lack of leaders. I am not talking about political leaders. I am talking about just like we have Swami Vivekanand, and after that we have Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. So, sir, in nowadays we are lacking the leaders like this. So, sir, what can we do to become or to make leaders like this?
No, you
Like
cannot
Kalam
make
Sahab,
leaders
like
like
Vivekanand.
you cannot make leaders like this unless you start accepting them and respecting them. Because see, the problem is that a leader will also depend on the followers' choice. If the followers
Yes.
go for such leadership, they will automatically be thrown in the system. So it's the followers' fault also.
Khushi Rani.
Sir,
Sorry. You want anything, Mr. Sharma?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, as we see in India, we have lack of leaders like this. So, sir, what our role in this situation?
Your role in such situation is very simple. You discard and discredit the kind of leaders you don't want. Simple.
Khushi Rani.
Sir, my question is essential attributes for a management student.
That has been repeatedly being told. You need to
EQ,
be, IQ, EQ, MQ, and communication and leadership. That has been told repeatedly.
GVR Karthike.
Sir, you have drawn lines on three Qs, IQ, MQ, and EQ. So my question to you is, unlike IIMs, most of the students who are pursuing in different universities are starting their careers as a management executives, and they for escalating themselves to managers. So they require much more hurdles to climb into that career. So your lines and suggestions to those students.
See, it's a competitive world. And in a competitive world, the best remedy to face competition is to continuously try to improve upon yourself. It is important to improve upon yourself rather than improving upon, trying to compete with others. You compete with yourself. So, and then one more thing, it is always possible to improve your performance because you are not able to realize your full potential and you will never be able to realize your full potential. So every time you try, there will be some improvement. And of course, you have no control over others' performance. So if you want to compete, you have to better your performance continuously. And it's always possible.
Anjali Maurya. Please unmute.
So my question is that what action will take in the next few months and year to improve career management skills and practice?
I told you about the skills which are needed to be developed in students of management. Now you have to find ways and means to develop on that. So naturally, as I said, for improving upon your personality, you need to develop on all the attributes. You need to develop on your mental ability. You need to develop on your emotional ability. You need to develop on your ethical ability. You need to develop on your communication skills. You need to develop on your leadership skills. So you have to go for an all-around what we call development. And this will call for efforts. So now I have a question, Anjali. That of course applies to everybody. How much time do you spend on your mobile phone every day? Be honest.
So more than 3-4 hours.
Exactly. So now my suggestion is cut that time by 2 hours and you get 2 hours more to prepare for yourself.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Professor Pathak. But if I will cut, I'm using mobile about 14 hours a day, apart from the laptop of 2 hours a day. So about 16 to 17 hours I'm on. If I will cut myself, then what will?
No. I want to say meaningful engagement.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Now, Amrita Chaudhary. Please unmute fast.
Yes, so my question is this, like apart from theoretical knowledge, what practical things we can apply in our daily lives to get those three knowledges you told about, three skills you told about?
See, theory and practicals are not different. Practicals are based on theories. No practical came just out of the blue. Every theory is based on some practical, and then every practical has some element of the theory. So when it comes to what we call applying the theory to practical, you need to develop thinking. If my thinking is in line with the findings of the theory, but sometimes the theory is not able to lead to the results that were touted, that were told. In that case, you need to think why. So you have to raise questions, always raise the right questions. Why, despite all this, is not happening? There must be something wrong with the efforts. There must be something wrong with you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Aksh Agrawal.
Sir, my next question is, we live a changing environment. Due to COVID protocols, there are many companies starting work from homes. So there is an impact in the working of managers in that case.
There is definitely. Because see, work from home has two sides. One is that you are working from home. The other is that your boss is also working from home. So in that situation, what is happening is that some discipline is being lost. So your boss shoots an email anytime in the 24 hours. You can get, in fact, we find that managers or superiors, they send emails in the odd hours. So that has affected the entire, what we call dynamics of an organizational culture. But this is a temporary phase. So I think gradually we'll get back to the normal. We'll get back, definitely.
Aditi Garg.
So my question is, what should be ideal vision for company culture and how we have to uphold the company values in prior roles?
See, you have two aspects of your question. One is ideal vision of a company culture. So ideal vision of a company culture is look after your men well, do the right things, and make sure that you are on your goal always. That is culture, company culture. What was the second part? Second part. There are two parts.
How we have to uphold the company values in prior role.
Yes. So see, every company, in fact, of course, all companies have one thing in common, that they have a mission, they have a vision, and they have a way to realize that. So follow that.
Okay. Alia Safi.
So I just want to ask, can we say that management is a pivot which can make and break an enterprise after this whole
That's what we
discussion?
have been discussing. It does. It certainly does. Because most enterprises, they fail because of poor management. Why do you think? In fact, we discussed so many things. Now tell me one thing. Why people leave organizations? Poor management. Toxic culture. Poor relationship with bosses. That's a very major issue. Similarly, why companies fail to achieve their goals? Poor management. So it definitely affects, certainly, without fail.
Okay, now I am coming to the third round. So this will be a bit fast, rapid round because we have limited time. Miss Alia Safi, please. Third question.
So I have asked already.
No question. Okay.
Go to the next one.
You have a question, Miss Alia? No.
No.
Although I told 3 to 4 questions. No, you have asked only 2 questions. Anyway, Miss Aditi Garg.
Yes, sir. My question is, organization is about planning and foresight, and it requires an ability to comprehend the big picture. So can you put some light on this statement, sir?
You said organization is planning
About planning and
and
foresight.
foresight and seeing the big picture. But more than that, after that, the final step, acting on that. Unless you act on that, your foresight and vision will not work. So to realize your goals, you must work on your plans. That is important. Action.
Aksh Agrawal.
So my question is, if the poor management is held in organization, so the many employees are leave the organization. So my question is, what steps we should apply to create a good management at that case?
Good management.
To make proper management to regain our company's goodwill.
You have to first think what went wrong. There are many examples. Rourkela steel plant at one time was in a terrible mess. They improved. Over here also, this coal company was in a terrible mess. They improved. So you have to first think what is wrong, what we call diagnosis of the problem. Without proper diagnosis, you cannot come to a solution. You cannot come to a treatment. So why things are not working has to be found out first. And there are many reasons. In fact, problem is that we jump to those conclusions about diagnosis. That is wrong. You have to approach this issue very scientifically. Why it is not working. And then you have to come to decisions.
Amrita Chaudhary.
So being a manager, how to motivate the other to give their 100% in the organization, other team members?
See, that will depend on your abilities to influence that person and at the same time, your credibility as a person. Because how are you able to influence? Unless you have a credibility, unless that person respects you, he will not listen to you. So, first thing is that you have to present yourself as a person who tells what he does, practice what you preach. So be a role model and the rest will follow.
Anjali Maurya. Please unmute Anjali Maurya.
So what kind of work environment do I prefer?
I don't get it.
In which work environment she should work? She should prefer to work in that, correct, Ms. Anjali Maurya?
Yes, sir.
You should work in every environment you get. In whatever environment you get, your duty is to give your best as long as you are working in that environment.
GVR Karthik.
My question to Dr. Pathak is, sir, can you please suggest some of the books required for the management students which acts as a quintessential for their career?
One, you read a lot of the old texts, scriptures. They have tremendous insights into management practice. Whatever you need. Then you must also read all the classics, English classics. They have a lot of lessons there. And finally, you must also read a lot on literature about values and ethics. That is very important. In fact, you can read my columns also. I have been writing my columns on values and ethics for the last 15, 20 years. Every week. So in fact, there are books available. My books are available on Amazon also. They are basically what we call practical tips on ethics and values. Karthikeya, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm hearing, sir.
Okay.
So you can go to Amazon, Pramod Pathak books, perspectives on ethics and things like that. Pioneer, pramodpathak.com, and even Shashwat Chintan at wordpress.com. You'll find all my articles there.
Yes, thank you very much.
And you can also watch on Friday. Every Friday, we are keeping this program where we are calling one of the
yes,
guru, management guru, or those who have the knowledge, and they are giving this type of, we are doing this open session with the management students basically. So you can even watch that every Friday, which the link you will be getting automatically now.
Sir, one more question, sir.
Okay.
Just a small question. Sir, in this pandemic time, with the stress being incurred into the heads of the students, your suggestions and valuable inputs for the students?
See, Three things. One, this pandemic is going to come to an end. That faith you must have. So what is it that follows? Stay on the wicket. You do you watch cricket? So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
the lessons which best coaches offer is stay on the wicket. Don't out hit wicket. Right? One, pandemic is going to come to an end. Two, stay on the wicket. And third, don't do anything foolish. Apply your mind, be cool, have faith in God. There are
Khushi
many
Rani.
articles on stress. My PhD is on stress.
Khushi Rani.
Sir, my question is, what are the things that for sustainable manager?
Your question, can you repeat it?
Sustainable manager. What are the things which is required for a sustainable manager?
First thing is, what is a sustainable manager? Any person whose management practices last beyond a certain time. So they are not situation specific. They are what we call eternal. And one thing that is eternal is your ability to act ethically, your ability to act in the proper frame of things. So be an ethical manager, that is sustainable manager.
Kushagra
Okay,
Sharma.
sir.
Sir, as we some of are the MBA first year student and we have to choose some specialization in our next year. So please, sir, guide us how to decide and how to choose our specialization.
See, you are in the first year, you must have studied about SWOT analysis, strength, weakness. Have you heard of it?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you
Yes.
first assess your strengths, identify your weaknesses, assess the opportunities available, and also assess the threats that are there. And then after carrying out a very rigorous analysis, you come to a conclusion. Don't choose a career in management. Don't choose a discipline in management just because your friend is doing or somebody is telling you. Do what you think you can do best.
Sakshi Goel.
Sir, my question is that how do we approach managing someone who is a subject matter specialist when we are more of generalist? How do we approach them? In that case,
Listen
what
to
should
him. That has been the problem in the entire corona pandemic. That has been the problem, that generalists were talking and experts were keeping quiet. So as an expert, you listen to him and try to learn from him. Generalists know something of everything, but
Yes.
the specialist knows everything of something.
Yeah, exactly.
Sakshi Singhal.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, my question is how we delegate the responsibility in our organization.
There's one very simple rule. You must have been playing a lot of games, na? So in playing those games, when it was a team game, there was a captain, and then he or she had to choose a team. So every person, every captain got an opportunity. Now, once that opportunity came, he would select a person. What was the basis of selecting that person? There can be two. One is likes and dislikes. The other was qualities. So go for qualities because right person on the right job, that is what is essential.
Sanjay Kumar.
Hello, sir. I have two questions. The first one is, as I've discussed in my previous question, that we are being in this kind of environment of Jharkhand. So, what kind of responsibility do we have as a youth in the state to create this kind of environment of entrepreneurship? And the second is, which of two that I'm going to speak, you think should be in the organization, a leader with power or a leader with responsibilities?
In fact, coming to the second question first, a leader with responsibility and a leader with power. In fact, a leader must have both power and responsibility. If he has a responsibility and no power, he'll not be able to exercise that power to fulfill his responsibility. If he has power and no responsibility, he will go astray and create all sorts of problems. So you need both. There's no question of having either or. Now coming to the first question now. You said that how are you going to carry out your responsibility as a youth. That's what you wanted to say. So see, as a youth, you have to contribute in nation building. Nation building doesn't mean that carry the tricolor and say only Jindabad, Murdabad. No, that's not the responsibility. Your responsibility is to contribute to the growth and development of your state, your region. Now, you first work on yourself, carry out a strength weakness analysis. What are your strengths? What best you can do? Then try to identify what are your weaknesses that are coming in the way of realizing your strengths. Now, if those weaknesses are very strong, that means you have to go for changing the objective. Because if the weaknesses outweigh the strengths, you cannot achieve your goal. So that has to be understood. And second is that once you have identified that, now you have to find out what are these threats and what are the problems, why you are not going to achieve that, so that you know how to tackle that situation, how to work for that situation.
Shreya Jain. Shreya Jain.
Yes, sir. My question is, how do you generate new ideas? How do you generate great ideas in your organization?
Lot of thinking, lot of observation, and lot of reading. You know what reading does? Reading gives you food for thought. See, your brain is muscles. So when you exercise the brain is one organ of the body, which the more it is used, the better it becomes. These days, what has happened is that we have stopped using the brain. We go for ready-made solutions. We go for online. We go for internet. We go for electronic media. So what is happening? The brain is not exercising its ability to create and construct. Give your brain a lot of food for thought. Do a lot of thinking, do a lot of reading, and the more you think, the more you read, the more the brain will become active and generate new ideas. It's a spontaneous.
Miss Romana Saha.
So do you think managing management education is the biggest challenge for the management institutes nowadays?
It is. It is. What has happened is that every institution approaches management education in its own particular way, but without realizing that there are certain very specific issues that a management institution must try to address. And first and foremost is how to change the personality of the student community which has come to its institute. What is happening is that management is one course where students from various streams and various backgrounds and various cultures come to a classroom or an institute. Now, all those individual specifications need to be properly understood and addressed. So you cannot have a, what we call one size fits all. But then the other side of the problem is that how you cannot have a separate curriculum for every student. So that convergence has to be arrived at on the basis of some real serious thinking. These management institutes, they are, what we call jumping the bandwagon. If X is taught in the US, they will include that in the syllabus. If Y is taught in some other country, they will include that. But whether it is suitable for your country or not, that is to be identified.
Yes, sir. Like as you told, like the students are coming from different backgrounds. For example, student is coming from an IT background. So nowadays, what we have seen, like in the current IT demand is so high, like somebody who has a good IT technology skill, those persons are getting a very unpredictable hike in the current market. But the managers who are also having the equivalent experience, that manager is not getting such a unbelievable hike. So this is creating like quite discrimination between these two categories, because obviously after getting a BTech, then only we are pursuing MBA. So obviously MBA is much more high valuable as per my perspective. I'm saying not in the general way, but in the market, the situation is absolutely reverse.
Okay. No, you're right. But that is an assumption which is faulty. Because see, this IT thing, this entire IT thing is a big bubble, and you just wait, things will improve. It happened once again earlier, and then it crashed. So it's a bubble.
Okay.
It's a
Now,
bubble.
so now this.
Okay, I think, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. So thank you very much, all the youth guests. You have asked the questions, and Professor Pathak was kind enough to give the reply. Professor Pathak, 1 minute for today's, anything you would like to say about our today's this program?
It was a very interactive and very useful program, and I really congratulate you for organizing such a program. And for the students, my last word is that put in more efforts than you are putting in. Your efforts still need to be improved, and there's always a room for improvement.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Pramod Pathak. So viewers, we have seen today the MBA, BBA students have asked many questions how to be to readying for a manager, and it's a successful manager. And Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak has given the replies to all of them, and they have asked questions, and they are from Pan India, not from one particular state or from a particular institute. They are coming from different places, and our endeavor is to enlighten not only those who are participating, but those who are watching our show. So our appeal to all of you is, if you are interested, because we are bringing on every Friday this particular program, although we are doing a program every day, but particularly for the youth, generally we are doing on Friday, but sometimes we are also doing on another day also, depending. But if you are interested, and if you want to participate, you can approach to your own institution, ask them to approach us. They all have our numbers, and then we will take you, and you will get your queries solved by the expert. Thank you very much, all the youth guests, and thank you very much, Professor Pramod Pathak. And today's program live telecasted by V4 News, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor to bring to you every day new topic in our media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Tomorrow, our topic is analysis of Union Budget 2022. And our panelists are Professor Mohanlal Agrawal, President, Indo-Gulf Management Association, Dubai; Dr. B. Ramesh, Dean, School of Management and Commerce, Mala Reddy University, Hyderabad; Dr. Priya Solomon, CFA, MET University, Noida; and Mr. Ritesh Mohan, CEO, www.retailritesh.com, Dubai, UAE. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, all the youth guests, and thank you very much, Professor Dr. Pramod Pathak. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show. I'm sure today's program is quite enlightening. And I'm sure that what Professor Pathak has mentioned, if we will go for some ethical values, which is not only for manager, for everyone, I think our country will be a wish guru in real sense, not only for management, but in every sense, if we